I've come to update Mr. President on the activities of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development. And don't forget that this ministry was created in July 2024, and today makes it a little bit over 2 years old. And therefore, I felt that it is an opportunity to update Mr. President on what we've been doing. In the first place, this ministry came out of the strategic vision of Mr. President to focus on the livestock sector that has not been mainstreamed into the Nigerian economy since independence. Therefore, the ministry came as a result of that strategic vision, and to do what? To have a laser focused attention on the ministry, to modernize the sector, make it sustainable, profitable, and globally competitive. And this is what we have been doing since the creation of the ministry. And as of today, we are happy to announce that Mr. President's action has resonated across the country to the extent that about 20 state governments have created similar ministries or agencies at the state level. And that goes to demonstrate that vision, which has now been copied by the subnationals. And that gives us also that opportunity for institutional collaboration with the state governments. Do not forget that at the federal level, the federal government doesn't have land. The cattle resources, animal resources are also at the state level. And therefore, we need this collaborative effort with the state governments to drive home that transformative effort. And we've been doing that toward all the district political zones. We've had meetings with the stakeholders, with major, medium, and small players, including institutional representations from the state governments, and the going has been excellently well. We also want to announce that as of today, the ministry has acquired a building to accommodate our office activities. It will soon be ready, and once it is ready for occupation, we'll also let the entire world to know that the ministry today has an address where you can meet us. We discuss business and how to move forward the sector. And part of the briefing as well is about two very, very important cardinal issues in the livestock sector. Number one is the issue of national ranching policy that we have launched in Plateau State, precisely at Wazir Grazing Reserve. Today, we are working on the implementation strategy. We are holding a lot of stakeholder engagement with the leadership of Plateau State, because that's going to be one area for proof of concept. And we've also had a lot of stakeholder engagement with pastoral organizations all over the place to make sure that people are onboarded onto our concept. We listen to them, we dialogue, we also look at these other gray areas to explain what it all means by this national ranching policy. The other aspect that we're looking at today, which is on the front burner, is that issue of radio frequency identification of all the livestock resources we have in the country. All four-legged animals, it is our intention to make them have an ear tag for identification, for geolocation, and proof of ownership. So that way, we need to build the national database on our cattle resources, as well as to make sure that any animals that are lost, either by straying or for some other form of losses in terms of cattle rustling, these animals will be tracked, they will be geolocated, they will be recovered, and that there will be proof of ownership. Therefore, we want to work along with all stakeholders to make sure that this is what we need to stabilize the rural areas, non-kinetic measures in terms of avoiding farmer-herder clashes. And we have also had our eyes on the red meat industry, which is also coming up. We have participated in a number of states where we had groundbreaking ceremony for massive modern abattoirs for meat processing. You will recall that today the open slaughter places that we have are not really good for public health, and therefore we are urging stakeholders and other operators to move up to the next level, to move into modern abattoir processing of red meat. We've also not left behind the issue of dairy development. As I'm talking to you, we have had a number of conversations with a lot of local players who want to establish mega dairy projects all over the place, including, of course, our development partners we are looking at also who are coming in with a very, very strong position for the development of the dairy sector in the country. We have not also left behind the issue of fodder cultivation. Remember, at the crisis we're having today in the country is that issue of feed and fodder. We have also have our fingers on fodder development in terms of commercial fodder cultivation, where we are going to assist people to get land for massive fodder cultivation, not only for local consumption, which is happening actually today, but also for export. Now, on the whole, we have been looking at the infrastructure in terms of health. We have built no less than 7 model veterinary clinics. At the end of the day, each state in this country is going to have at least 1 model veterinary hospital, and we are going to the veterinary clinics to the last mile to make sure that in terms of health sector, all our animals are covered, and as well as also building up what we call cold chain vaccine storage capacities that are going to be off-grid, so that vaccine has to be transported under particular temperature. So we are building all those all over the country, and also doing farm service centers all over the place. And we have also had our eyes on the poultry sector, that we do believe also we are now going to get into massive importation of hatchable eggs to stabilize the sector, so that the waiting time for local poultry producers will be minimum 1 month after payment. You can get your day-old chicks. I must confess that the president was very, very supportive, very, very understanding. In fact, it was a kind of a dialogue that I have with him, and that shows me that he's been keenly following the developments in the sector, and he's been asking probing questions. What about this? What about that? In fact, in one particular area, he said, look, the value chain is fantastic, and I'm quoting him. The value chain in the livestock sector is fantastic, and that everybody should line up to partake in that value chain. And been asking me, what else can we do? I said, Mr. President, sir, the political support we are getting is sufficient enough. Where we are today, certain things that you need to do to us, you've done, and will escalate some of the things that are coming out of this discussion I'm having with you today. So on the whole, Mr. President has been very supportive, and we are very, very grateful for that political support and for the understanding we are getting from Mr. President. So for us, actually, we need not ask more but to go back and deliver. Our understanding is that large number of cattle on the move is crisis prone. Because number one, the grazing routes have disappeared. Farms, large farms have come up, aggressive urbanization, demand for land for infrastructure development, so many other things have made nomadism, as it were, not sustainable. Therefore, nomadism, from our understanding, is a survival mechanism. Animals need to move from point one point where there is scarcity of feed and water, to a place where fodder and water is available. So if you understand this much, why don't you provide the scarce resources in situ and stop these animals from moving? Human beings can move. They don't cause crisis. It's the animals' movement that normally generate this crisis. We have understood that. We have inventorized for 417 grazing reserves. As I'm talking to you today, we have come up with a pilot on Inwase Grazing Reserve, Plateau State. That is going to be proof of concept. But we are not saying that it's sufficient enough. What we are saying is that once we move in to rehabilitate the grazing reserve, move in pastoralist, then it will catch on. We have identified 6 states: Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Adamawa, and FCT. And we have reason for identifying this. If you look at the incidences of crisis, these states have actually reported more farm-mother clashes than other states that have not been mentioned. So we are conscious of that. And in terms of engagement, we have actually had stakeholder engagement with about 34 pastoral organizations. And that engagement is still on. 2 weeks ago, we met the pastoralists under the leadership of the Grand Patron of Mieti Allah, and that is His Eminent, the Sultan of Sokoto. And in the next 2 weeks again, we are going to repeat that meeting. So these engagements are supposed to explain the position of government in terms of national ranching policy, that look, we do not need to carry large number of animals to where the grass is. One business model is that today, go and fetch the grass and bring it to where the animals are. 2, grow the grass where the animals are. And this has been demonstrated over and over that you can grow pasture to feed your animals. Number 1, you don't need 1,000 animals to move along with. Do breed improvement, reduce the number of animals, raise the quality, the quantity of milk supply. Today, if you want 100 liters of milk, you have to milk 150 animals of the indigenous breed. But if you bring exotic breed, 10 animals can give you 100 liters of milk. 3 animals can give you 100 liters of milk. So it is milk that you want. We have the solution for that. And if you want to feed your animals, there are genetically developed grasses that have been intentionally developed, and they have all the nutritional value you are looking for. But of course, if you go to the countryside, the biodiversity have disappeared. Some of the grasses we knew as children are no longer there because of 1, overgrazing, wildfires, and indiscriminate use of herbicides. So we know all these things are the climate change. So what we are saying today is that you are better off in a confined area. You can do your ranching in a confined area. So, and that is what we are selling. That was we are working to build that model in each of these grazing reserves that we have spoken about. We are starting with plateau. And we believe once that we launch that one, what are we doing? We are going to build houses for them. We are going to build veterinary clinics. We are going to build primary schools. We are going to build primary health care. We are going to put solarized solar lights. We are also going to build micro earth dams that will now be used to irrigate those pasture fields. So that is what we are talking about. And at the end of the day, each of those grazing reserves will become an economic hub. Imagine what you are going to have if you have 30,000 heads of cattle in one area. The milk collection alone will attract milk processors. They will attract modular abattoirs. They will attract biodigesters. They will attract so many things that will come there. That is our concept. And that's what we have been selling to them. And so far, we have not seen resistance from anybody, because the reality on the ground is that nomadism, as it were, is no longer sustainable. And we need a different concept. And that is the concept that under the renewed agenda, Mr. President is selling to everybody in Nigeria, particularly those who are involved in livestock activities. And we are going to work with them to make sure that we stabilize the rural areas, to make sure that we increase survivability of the animals, we improve on national food and nutrition security.